Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Half a Clue Movie Review. Today, we'll be talking about Richard Linklater's newest film, Netflix original, rotoscoped animation, Apollo 10.5, A Space-Age Childhood. Like I said, written and directed by Richard Linklater, most famously known for Bad News Bears remake and School of Rock, his most prestigious work. Moving on.
Shut the fuck up, you whore. How dare you, you dirty fucking mouth. By the way, his name is, what? Your name is?
My name is Ron. Hey.
Yeah, the whore. And my name is Philip. What is it called?
Yeah, and we're here to talk about, like I said, Apollo 10.5. Which was like a pretty good.
Yeah, this is okay. First, let's okay, so synopsis for this film. This takes place in the 1960s, before the launch of Apollo 11.
Yeah,
NASA accidentally made basically a spacecraft that's a little too small for adults.
Yeah,
so they were like, we need the most fit and smart, intelligent local kid.
Yeah,
and then they got Stanley, who's like, sure.
I like when Stanley's like, how did you guys make it too small? Or like, how did you mess up that badly? And they're like, I'm sorry. Have you ever taken a math test before? It's like, yeah. It's like, do you get 100% every time? They're like, no. It's like, well, then mistakes happen. Yeah. So this is like, it's a very, like, you know,
it's like magical
charming,
realism,
yeah,
charming film.
It's, I think the rotoscoped and, well, I mean, let's just go one thing at a time.
Okay, so first,
yeah.
What is your exposure to? Okay, I know we said Bad News Bears and stuff like that, and School of Rock, but since those aren't written by him, I don't really consider them like that. And like Me and Orson Welles, or even Where'd You Go, Bernadette, I don't consider them like Linklater films. I consider them Linklater practice films, or he's like testing shit or stretching his muscles. But this, where it's like dealing with very specific hyper point of view, talky films, more ambling, meandering films about just, you know, life experiences. That's a Linklater film. So this is your first Linklater film, right?
Yes. My first, like, you know, written and directed by Linklater film, because
you've seen Bad News Bears.
Yeah, before this I had seen School of Rock and Bad News Bears. That was my exposure to the Linklater.
Well, in real life, he's such a chill guy. Like, I've seen the interviews and stuff. Like, if you like, just based on his films, you can tell he's always like slouching. He's like, yeah, you know, it was cool. Like, we had these shots, and I just thought it would be cool.
Yeah, like,
obviously, smokes weed recreationally all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen like chunks of Dazed and Confused, you know, but I've never seen it like all the way through. Unfortunately, I know that's a big one. Also, the Before trilogy and everything else. Even A Scanner Darkly, I hear a lot about.
Yeah.
But yeah, those ones I've not watched yet, but I do want to, though. Yeah. Especially the Before trilogy. That's really kind of just like, I feel myself gravitating towards it as I've gotten older. I'm just like, I just feel like this would just be a fascinating watch. Yeah.
I want to do this where I'm like watching it, the trilogy every year, just see how it changes, my opinion changes on each films. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't, but like every 2 or 3 years, like certain films hit a lot harder. Like before Sunset, the second one, which is like, you know, when they're a little older and it's like the relationship has been there for a little bit, like that one suddenly like resonated with me a lot more, right?
Yeah.
And Before Midnight actually is like a horror film to me now, where I was like, oh shit, is my relationship gonna be like this growing up, right? And then That's Our Dog Casper, who is just in protest of us covering this film, and he wants to be in the podcast, but I told him no.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, we will pause momentarily right now. And now we're back because we revolved our entire life around my dogs. I apologize. And now they're,
But yeah, talking about the Before trilogy, I kind of feel like I wish I had seen like them as I was younger before, like, you know, just so I could have that experience of like as I'm growing up, which I mean, I'm still relatively young now. So
they'll still hit well. Like they're like their early 20s in the first film. So if anything, it might be like the right age for you to watch the first one at least. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool.
What's it called? And also I would recommend, Boyhood, I would recommend that. Like, well, at first you should probably watch like Dazed and Confused.
I should have watched it as a boy. And then watched it every year. Until
Dude, I actually kind of I'm so curious, like if somebody if somebody will do that. Like, I feel like 13 years from now, somebody's going to release a video or like, oh, I watched Boyhood every year for 13 years. And how did it change? What's it called? Do you know, okay. last slight tangent about Richard Linklater, but it all kind of ties relevantly to his stuff
Okay.
and his dedication to the craft. But he's making another film like that, but 20 years. They're gonna shoot it 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, merrily we go around, or whatever. It's gonna be a period piece, and it's gonna be shown in reverse chronological order. So what they're shooting now is the ending, and what they shoot 20 years later will be the beginning.
Interesting. See, it's like stuff like that is something I've always really admired from Linklater. Like, obviously the before trilogy, how that's worked. Like
9 years.
9-year difference between each film. That's just very interesting. And obviously Boyhood. Like, it's just stuff like that is the kind of thing that, like, I don't know. It's some of like the most like fun and interesting, exciting things to do with film. Like, they're like, there's just every director or creator has their own approach, and it's just like, I don't know, when you kind of do something like that, like have like a plan that's literally going to go over the course of decades, like that's just so cool to me.
And it's like, and so many things could go wrong. Like, what if, like, no joke, like what if an actor dies, or stuff like that? You would have to change the plot. Especially merrily go around, like if it's shot reverse chronological order. Yeah, if an actor dies, and this just kind of fucks with the entire story.
20 years is a long time, dude.
Yeah. And then right now our dogs are fighting because they're just like, oh my gosh, fucking, I can't imagine 20 years. But it's it's like the amount of craft and the attention that he does to these types of films. It's not even just like the gimmicky thing of like rotoscope. Like, he doesn't use rotoscope just for a gimmick, right? Yeah. But rotoscope adds like, so let's just go first into the rotoscope animation. Like, rotoscope animation, I think, adds a certain type of like artificial but yet sweetly nostalgic charm, like almost like a surrealistic quality, like a Pablo Picasso painting almost.
I think it seems to fit this kind of story so well, where it's literally these fantastical.
Sorry, so we're still adjusting with having dogs while recording.
Yeah, for real. It's like it's basically, like I was saying, having this like surreal, almost kind of like overly saturated, like kind of color lens. This like color that's being, like it's literally overlapping on real life footage and real actors and everything. That's what rotoscoping is. But like kinds of gives it this like slight fantastical, like, like nostalgic quality to it, that like, is perfect for this because it's a real life event, the Apollo 11 and everything, and them going to the moon, but through a childhood's like, child lens, right? Like he's imagining himself
in like rose color tinted nostalgic way.
Exactly.
And that's why like that's what works so much to me. And also just so, like you could do a lot of different things with the animation to make it look more surrealistic. Even like the mundane looks, it has a dreamlike quality to it. The scenes,
I like how they're just like, I don't know, for some of the things that really stuck to me, that I feel like is like, I don't know, it seems so relevant today and stuff, is the fact that as they moved into this place, they're like new parts of Houston, that there was no established history or anything. They're literally making it up as they kind of go along. I think a lot of people who live in areas that are like newly constructed or something like that, they're just kind of like, there's no like, oh, this is where my grandfather and his grandfather lived. It's like, no, you're just kind of moving here. You're starting, you're making the history right now. It's like, that's just very fascinating to me. And also, I don't know, just like the fact that how much the Apollo program really influenced like NASA, Houston, it really built this city,
It's just like, and then like I want to go to Houston. Like, I think I went to Austin, Texas, but I want to go to Houston because like I heard that like it goes through the history of like how the space program and the competitive race against Russia versus America has transformed this like kind of idle town into like this, kind of like, now I guess like I wouldn't say cultural like city, landstone or whatever America, but it's just like has become like a staple mark.
Yeah, like I went to Houston once during like it was briefly, it doesn't really count. Like I was basically just there for a layover, but I was there for like almost a whole day. Yeah. So we went, like, we were kind of like on the outskirts of the town, and we just went to like some barbecue place. I had extreme diarrhea. I was like, dude, no lie. I was like clutching the toilet, just like, dude,
that's how you know it's good. Where it's just like your stomach's about to rip. I went to Louisiana or something like that. Yeah. I like had like I had like some type of like their legit like hot fried chicken and stuff like that, and my stomach felt like it was ripping apart. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's like, it sucks that it kind of soured me a bit because I was like, oh, this is my first time in Texas. This is my first time. I'm gonna have some like Texas barbecue. Hell yeah, man. I got some like ribs and chicken and everything, and I was like, this is good at the time. I wasn't really that blown away by it. Also, the place we went to, I'm sure it wasn't like anything special.
Legit like Texas barbecue, at least from what I remember as a kid, is like the Pit Masters.
Oh,
we're like out in the middle of like a fucking sandstorm, and they have these like, you know, like the fire pits, and that's like legit, the way I see it, legit Texas barbecue.
Nice. Well, so I don't think I had that.
Yeah.
It was just like some kind of regular, I don't know, shop. There wasn't like anything. It didn't seem like it was anything special, but I don't know what the hell was in it. But it was me and my cousin were just like dying. Like the next morning, because we were both with our families, they're like, how are you guys last night? And like, oh, Ron got like super sick, and they're like, oh my gosh, so did our cousin. Like, so did she. Like, she was puking up, and I was like, yeah, me too. I was like, holy crap. It was bad. Anyway, but no, it's just like, it's such a fascinating look into the 60s and specifically Houston in the 60s.
And that's what I love about Linklater, like his strengths. And I think like we'll tell with this one is that he has a real great sense of like a subtle sense of period detail, environmental detail.
Like so much detail. It just like it wraps you into this place and puts you there. So like, you know,
like it immerses you into that culture so well that like very few filmmakers could do, right? And he doesn't do it in an obnoxious way, like Member Berries. No, he does it as this almost as if like through a nostalgic lens or something.
It really feels like I was telling Philip, I was like, I feel like this guy, like Richard, had like some kind of diary where he just wrote down all the most mundane kind of like simple parts of life that which just really is what paints a picture of like, you know, little things of like the caps from like, you know, taking off like the beer cans or whatever. We're just all over the place, picking up trash to like get an extra box of popcorn or whatever, or just like, oh, like, you know, following the DEET, like the mosquito repellent things. I don't know, just like all the little things that just add up to, you know, the culmination of what your adolescence was. This guy just is able to squeeze it all in. And it is kind of just one thing after the other. That's just kind of like, remember this, remember that. But it's so specific that it just, it doesn't come off as obnoxious. It feels like you're living someone else's childhood. Yeah. Which is great. Really great experience.
It's unique. Like, that's the thing. It's a unique POV that like you don't get from like a lot of, hence the word unique. Which is why what I like more about films, right? Like, I don't, like I would prefer a film to give me something that like a perspective on a certain matter or subject that I can't get from any other filmmakers. That's I think how like certain filmmakers set them apart, right? And this one is like even his like because there's been a lot of like the childhood reflective director films lately, like Belfast, Roma. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu is gonna come out with one this year apparently.
Oh, cool!
Which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, that should be cool.
Yeah, and then and Richard Linklater, this is like I guess his kind of thing, but like I mean he's been doing it for a while with like Dazed and Confused and Everybody Wants Some.
Yeah,
but in this one was particular because he felt like Richard Linklater, but through like a fantasy lens. It's still like a different type of childhood type of film, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And again, like it's just puts me in a place. Like I feel like I grew up in the 60s.
And I was nostalgic for the 60s, but I was never fucking born in the 60s. And another thing, I think the narration helped a lot by Jack Black.
Oh, absolutely. Jack Black crushes it. I was so excited to hear his voice. I was like, is that Jack Black? I was like, hell yeah. And he does such a great job like of just really capturing that feeling and, you know, making it seem like just kind of a warm reminder of this guy who's just recalling
his memories and stuff. Yeah. And my friend Uriel will hate this because he's like hates narration. Like, if you know our lore, he's this retro gamer guy. He's super cool though, but
it's like I think I understand like that like, you know, instant like knee jerk reaction, like because narration can be done poorly as it's been done like if it's many
expository
times. Yes, but it's not like that. You know,
but the purpose is to make it seem like a nostalgic diary framework or something.
Yeah. If anything, this reminds me a bit of like The Sandlot.
I
get a lot of Sandlot vibes from this, you know, where it's like he's just kind of recalling this, like, this is one crazy summer. But like this guy's crazy summer is that, you know, he went to the moon.
With NASA. And this is one thing, you know, we talked about period details and stuff like that. And it did like that they explored different aspects. And like straight up, they had the same footage from Summer of Soul about like the guy from Harlem. They put that money back in Harlem. and I like that they rotoscoped that still. But okay, the thing I wanted to ask was, do you think, because I think the editing was really clever on the actual Apollo 11 launch, because like as the Apollo 11 launch is happening of like the actual footage and the reaction between the Stanley's family and the actual Neil Armstrong getting out.
Yeah.
But instead of Neil Armstrong getting out, it's Stanley getting out.
Yeah.
Right. And then the way they edited back and forth, like it almost, and also because like the family never even mentions like the camp or where he's been.
Yeah.
It kind of puts into question, do you think he actually, there was a 10.5, or was it just like literally just like an imaginatory headspace that it was
for this kid, like in this world? Yes. I think it really was him just imagining things. Like he even falls asleep, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he'll feel like he remembered watching it or whatever. So I feel like, this kid is, just imagining it. And I liked that framework because I think it really captures what kids were thinking at the times, but even adults, like everyone was watching this thing, imagining themselves. That's like kind of the beauty of like those what's it called, like the space suits at the time, is that you couldn't see Neil Armstrong's face.
No.
So it's so easy to just kind of project yourself in his place and just imagine yourself slowly walking out onto the moon and just being, it's like, wow, like that's like it's such a singular moment in human history that it's like, it's so crazy. Not even just human history, but like the history of the entire planet and of life, of being able to reach out to another celestial body and like, kind of putting yourself there. And it's like, what a crazy accomplishment and achievement. So it's like, I understand how like, this kid's imagination would run totally wild.
He has a summer camp and he's there's a space module that's a little too small and stuff like that. But I mean, who knows? It, like in the context of the film, it also could have been real. But then the way it's edited, because he's falling asleep, I think it's like a super subtle way of saying, like, of suggesting that it's probably all in his head. Yeah, which I really loved.
I love that too. Yeah, it's just like it's just exactly what you would expect from, a kid in that time. Like, why wouldn't you picture yourself being up there?
Exactly. I give a huge shout out to Sandra Adair, who edited every single one of Richard Linklater's films, which I think is really hard unless it's. But then again, I heard there's not much improv. It's like pretty planned out.
Really?
And that's another thing about his films that are pretty unique, that it feels very naturalistic or almost improv-y. But he's like, there's almost zero improv in my film.
Yeah, it does. It like, it feels like as his dad or his mom is speaking, that really feels like something someone at that time would say. Like whenever for me, like any 60s related media, my benchmark is Mad Men. Yeah. Just like, I'm like, all right, how does this compare? How does this feel like Mad Men? I'm like, I feel like this could totally belong in that same world.
Oh yeah, I could totally see this as like almost like a side story of Mad Men.
Yeah. It's like, again, it's obviously completely different advertising firm in the middle of Manhattan versus, like Houston, Texas. Like, but it feels like it would just slip into that world so seamlessly into the past, but specifically an extra kind of stylized version of it, just tweaked up.
Can you imagine he made like they just like did a Mad Men reunion special, but like it's rotoscoped directed by Richard Linklater.
It would in that case it would look and feel a lot like Archer, I think, at a certain point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would be true actually. Yeah. What's it called? This film I liked it. I love the parents. The hippie scene. Yeah, it's like that. It's like, that's a hippie. He's wearing like a specific type of clothing.
He's wearing bell bottoms.
Bell bottoms. Yeah.
They're like, is that a hippie? It's like, no, hair is not long enough. I'm like, but he's wearing bell bottoms. Oh, okay, yeah. That is hippie.
That is hippie. And I feel like that's so. What's it called? And like stuff like that, like that type of dialogue where it's like it's not one consistent. It's like it shows like kind of the inconsistencies that like humans have, right, when they're talking or anything.
It's just like that reminded me of my dad, because my dad was always like, oh yeah, I used to be a hippie back in like the 60s or like the late 70s or early 70s. My mom is always like, you were not a hippie, and he's like I was. I had like bell bottoms. And there's like photos of my dad's like his big bell bottom pants, and it's just kind of hilarious.
Dude, you got to show me that picture.
Yeah,
we got to show. We're gonna do video. We're gonna specifically do video, another hippie film, so we can see Ron's dad.
Yeah, see what my dad looked like. Spoiler alert, he wasn't a hippie. I think he wanted to be.
Yeah. Oh, I also love the thing that kind of reminded me of my dad or grandparents, where that scene with the car We're like, what's the difference between a redneck and white trash?
Yeah.
What's it called? Rednecks just leave their trash in their car, but white trash throw it outside.
Yeah.
And then he throws it inside the car. He's like, okay, so we're rednecks? Like, no, we're not. You're gonna clean this up afterwards.
That's the extra difference.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
And they don't paint him as like a super amazing moral guy anyway, but also yet still kind of like lovable and like nice and stuff like that. He's cheap, but yeah, he loves his kids and wants to take them out and stuff.
Exactly. It's like, again, it's like, I don't know, reminds me of my dad and my parents, where it's just like, yeah, they sometimes their worldviews were, have been contentious at times, with like us, the younger generation, but like, they mean well. It's just, however they were raised and stuff at the time and the worldviews that were imposed upon them. And it's just kind of like, it's just part of that same life. But that they're, at least, loving and they care, but it's just, it's just under a lot of other BS sometimes. But
like his character is like surprisingly complex, had more characterization than News Commander did in the 3 Fantastic Beasts films.
yeah, for real.
What's it called? I'm not even joking. He does that really efficiently. Like just with like a dialogue scene, be like, okay, like this is what the character is about. These are inconsistencies, these are flaws, and this is why you like him. Yeah, all within one scene, and that is a masterful talent, I think.
Yeah.
What's it called? Okay, so trying to think. What's it called? Oh, and then briefly touch on this because it's a Netflix animated film, and the word's been out because of Netflix subscriber drop. That apparently, you guys, please watch this film because I think this might be the last of these films that we made. Period. Because regular studios won't do this, and Netflix is no longer the company that we all loved, where they take big risks and stuff like that. Because they've recently fired the the head of Netflix animations, and they're trying to make more just of the same shit that you like.
Womp womp.
Yeah. I bet you there's gonna be a Stranger Things animated series. There'll be like a You animated series. Just like of shows, but I don't know.
That's so disappointing. Yeah, it's this one of the things that we loved about Netflix, the fact that they would come out with stuff that you wouldn't like. Who would have thought that they would have just, animated, rotoscoped Richard Linklater film, just comes out of nowhere too. Yeah. But I think that's part of their problem. And rather than learning that issue of like,
they also don't promote it that well.
Yeah, properly advertising it or promoting their stuff, because a lot of times it's like, it's just dropped and it's just like, I had no idea this thing was coming out, or I didn't know about it, so I didn't watch it because I just didn't even know it existed. So it's like, not my fault. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, rather than learning that lesson, they decided like, screw it, we're just not going to do that anymore.
That's really shitty. And it's like other studios, like, dude, fucking, and then no excuse, Netflix. I'm talking about like Neon or something like that, or A24 or Focus Features or Searchlight. They do the thing where it's an indie film. They don't have a big marketing budget. But what they do, they put it on festivals. They put it early screenings. They do like random, they show it in random theaters, to people to build word of mouth.
Yeah. Because that's what happens when you have faith in their creative stuff. So
yeah. And it's like, and even social media, like do some this rotoscope. You don't think you could have done something creative with rotoscope animation for social media? Like rotoscope, the directors talking about the film, stuff like that. Have like little social media bits. Like there's so much shit that they could have done, but I think the marketing team really failed, and I'm really sad about that. I'm really sad.
It's disappointing. Not mad, just disappointed.
What's it called? You guys, please do watch this. I also brief shout out to Milo Coy as young Stanley. He very naturalistic.
Yeah, I did a great job.
And trying to think of anybody. I mean, Glenn Powell. It's weird to see Glenn Powell and Zachary Levi as an ass official. So I was like, are they? I was like, it is them. I was like, watch this. Okay, so what Linklater films have you seen? Ron, what Linklater films will you see next? Was probably on your next list.
My next one, I think I'm just gonna hit the main big ones where it's like, all right, we saw Linklater's childhood, graduating now into his high school. So probably Dazed and Confused, nice. And then probably Everybody Wants Some, and then I'll go into Love Life and Before Trilogy and stuff, and then I don't know, probably cap it off like Boyhood or something.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, Boyhood. I feel like Boyhood is like his climax. Really? Like that's his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood film, where it's like it kind of just sums up his entire career at this point and what we know and love about him, and also like his most ambitious film in 13 years. Like I said, he could have easily been a gimmick filmmaker where he just like has cool ideas and does it, but he makes it so much more to enhance the story and the themes. in a sense. And as we talked about earlier, what the rotoscope animation does. Any last minute things you want to say? It's like
no, it's a great film. It's a good time if you're just looking for like a fun, sweet, interesting story with like cool animation and just like a place that a story that transports you to a very specific time and place. This is it, and it's easy access. It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
go watch it.
I think it's like really easy to watch.
Yeah, it's an easy watch, and the time. If anything, it feels a little too short at times.
Yeah. I was like almost as if like I wanted to see more stuff about this story or this family. Like I would have been totally okay with another dinner scene of this family.
Yeah,
just chilling. That's how much I enjoy and like this film. I'm debating whether I like this film more than Turning Red, which also was another film with a unique perspective. I probably do like this film. I know you definitely like this film more than Turning Red, right? They're very different though.
But yeah, they're very different films. But I don't know. I feel like Turning Red is an even easier watch, I guess.
Oh yeah.
And there's like more, I don't know, the more beautiful kind of animation. It's very different. But yeah, I don't know. They're very different kind of films.
Yeah,
it's hard to compare. I don't really want to pick one over the other. But yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for another episode, Half a Clue movie review. Don't worry what's it called? What's it called? Actually, I don't know why I said don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Just don't worry.
Just don't worry.
Don't worry. Yeah,
that's gonna be our motto. Thanks for listening to Half a Clue. Don't worry.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.